So it's the summer of 1984. I'm 8 years old, and I was about to see my very first rated R movie. And it was. Yeah. So seeing this movie would change my life in terms of my artistic expression. It would basically plant another seed, if you will. Seeing this man express himself and just rip that guitar, man. I mean, it was something it just blew my mind. And of course, I would get his other albums before Purple Rain. And some of those lyrics are pretty intense, as you know, for those of you that have followed his career. And what an interesting situation to happen at age 8. Now, I was a very mature kid. Some kids, it depends on your maturity level in terms of adult themes. My mom, my aunt, and the women who raised me were comfortable with me being exposed to these things because I was very mature, me being an only kid and, not just reenacting these influences of adult themes, So the way you process information as a kid, depending on your maturity level, it doesn't do damage to your mind. And so they saw this. Okay. So even though I'm listening to the music of Prince, it didn't scar me or send me down the tunnel of, what would you call that? Immature behavior, I guess, for lack of a better expression. And so the summer of 1984, there it is. And then that fall of 1984, there was a show that would premiere on NBC, September the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Now, this show did what no other television show had done at the time. There were some shows that would utilize similar camera or cinematography, rather, but this show really took it to an entirely different level. It used music. But you know what it did? It took the movie experience and put it on television, which had never been done before, which is interesting because nowadays it's the opposite. You go to movies now and it feels like you're watching TV. It feels more episodic. But Miami Vice did so much. And in terms of camera use. So here we go. We got the sensuality of Prince, seed planted. We've got the cinematography and color palette of Miami Vice, its flair, seed planted. Okay. So there it is, the 80s. I had already written poetry before, just, little bits and pieces here or there, nothing special, just exploring, right? But by 1995, a certain song came out on the radio airwaves by a man by the name of Tupac Shakur. Dear Mama. That song was played so much on the airwaves, man, and it touched me because I was going through a lot. I was 19 years old at the time when that song came out. And I'm hearing this man and I'm saying to myself, because I wasn't really the biggest Tupac fan at that point. I knew his jams. I knew what he was doing. I loved I Get Around and Strictly for My Niggas and all of that. That was cool. But this one really touched me. It really did. I was like, man, this man is really something special because he wrote a song about his mother. Yeah. And I had never heard anything like that before at the time. And so I said, you know what? I want to dive into this poetry thing. And funny enough, Tupac was a poet. I think most hip hop artists are poets. That's what they are to me. I don't know about you, but that's what they are to me. They're all poets with rhythm. That's, instead of running around quoting Ralph Emerson and Emily Dickinson and all these other poets and Ernest Hemingway, I was more into the hip hop artists. Those were the poets for me in my experience. So hearing Dear Mama really pushed it to the limit there. And in terms of my mind, 1996 rolls in, I start to write some more poems. And really the first poem that really started things off was a one called The Night. I'm going to read it to you right now. The night is young. As the sun becomes invisible, the darkness chills me. The souls of the dead come alive. The souls of the living whistle in the winds of the past, present, and future. Dark it is, but evil it is not. Do not fear the night, for it exists even in the light. I wrote this when I was 20 years old. First official poem that I ever wrote. And that would spark the desire to continue writing. I wasn't performing these poems yet. Just wanted to continue diving in to the world of poetry. And some of these poems were sensual, some of them were just like the one I just read. Sometimes I would write poems and give them away to people while I was attending Los Angeles Trade Tech Community College. I would sit in the library, see a lovely lady sitting across the way, and I would write a poem about what she was wearing. I would walk over to her, say, "Excuse me," lay the poem in front of her, and just walk away. Now, sometimes I would stick around to see the reaction, but usually I would just walk away. And I remember one time I did this, and I guess the woman related to everything that was written on the page, and she started crying and she said, "Oh my God, you just expressed everything that I'm feeling right now. Thank you very much." It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And that's when I realized the power of poetry. It's a very underrated and underappreciated art form. So I decided to get on YouTube and explore my poetry on YouTube. I did have some videos here on my channel that featured some of my poems, but I took them down. I wasn't very happy with the production style of a lot of the videos. So if you look at a lot of my older videos from like 2010, which are still available on this channel, you'll notice that some of the episodes are numbered and there's a lot of stuff missing. There's a lot of stuff missing. So I don't know, maybe I'll re-upload those videos again. We'll see what happens. But that's what I wanted to do when I first got here on YouTube. So I wasn't really performing at different poetry spots. I was kind of just exploring it on here. Okay, and that was right about 08, 09, right around that time, and a little bit of 2010 as well. So 2010 comes in, and I'm not sure what order this took place, but because I know that there was a talent show in November of 2010 that I performed in, because my cousin, he worked in Watts. He worked at a school in Watts, and they were having a poetry talent show. And I participated in that. And that was sort of my introduction to performing on stage. But I'm not sure if this other situation happened before that or after that. But anyway, a coworker of mine, because I started working doing tours, a coworker of mine was having a gathering and invited me. And so I took the train out to her place in the valley. I want to say it's the last stop for the Red Line Metro. For those of you that know the last stop, I think it's Lancashire or Northridge Station, I think it is. Or no, North Hollywood Station. That's what it is, North Hollywood Station. So I got off there. Now, for those of you that know, the adult entertainment industry is very prevalent in the valley. That's the hub. At least it was. I don't know if that's still the case, but Los Angeles, you know, the valley, some of you know what I'm talking about. So, of course, I would experience what I'm about to tell you right now. So I'm standing there waiting to get picked up to go to this gathering at my coworker's place. And a woman walks over to me and says, "Have you ever considered doing," I won't say the P word, I'll say adult entertainment? And I said no. Right away, I answered no. And she said, "You know, if you ever change your mind, here's my card." And so I took the card and I was like, not really into this. I didn't let her see me toss it, but I did eventually toss the card. She just walked off and went on about her business. But then I sat back and I thought, I was like, okay, no, I don't want to do anything in the adult entertainment industry because that's not, it's one dimensional when it comes to sex. It's very one dimensional. It's not about anything except getting off. That's the reason. There's nothing artistic about it. There's no substance to it. It's very A to B. You know, that's hence the reason why, you know, men are usually the target demographic for that, because it doesn't take much to get men off, where women, it takes a lot more. That's why you don't really find a lot of women that are into the adult entertainment industry. Although you do have some, it's just not as common. And so that's one of the reasons why I was like, nah. And then I kept playing around with it in my head, obviously, because no one had ever asked me that question before. And then I said, well, if I was going to do something even remotely close to it, how would I do it? What way would I do it? And it hit me. I had already been exploring the poetry on YouTube. I had already started. And I did some tests with YouTube and the sensual poems that I had already written. And I said, what if I took my sensual poems and passion and put it together? The Book of Sultry was born. And you could say that I wanted to take my sensuality, because I'm a very sensual person, put that on display. I wanted to take elements of Prince and his artistic sensuality. Well, of course, that's the origins of that. And then the cinematography of Miami Vice, and kind of put all that together. And there you go. The Book of Sultry was born in 2010 in terms of the idea. And so I went about the process of developing the concept for this. I did some test episodes here on YouTube. They were removed because of the nudity. I know they're pretty strict on things like that, so we'll see. I mean, right now my channel is not as big yet, so I don't know. I don't know if my other Book of Sultry videos, I don't know. What do you think? Should I remove my other Book of Sultry videos, or should I leave them up and maybe they'll put an age restriction? I don't know. You know, I guess the bigger you get on YouTube, the more you're monitored by the YouTube bots and, you know, that sort of thing. So yes, this is what I wanted to do with the Book of Sultry. And I wanted to have poetry, the visuals, and the music. I wanted to maximize the sound of my voice. I wanted to do all of that. I basically wanted to take all these sensual ideas out of here and put it in front of the camera. More so the build up to the obvious, not the obvious. The obvious is what you see in adult entertainment. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to explore the ideas of connecting on a deep level, not entirely emotional, but more spiritual, using sex for healing, using sex for transformation, using sex to get closer to God, you know, that sort of thing. So it's not about BDSM. It's not about kink. It's not about raunch. None of that. All the things that you understand from the adult entertainment industry, I wanted to veer as far away from that as possible. Even though some people who watch this will say that it's a softer version, but whatever. You got to watch the entire thing to really, truly understand it. So I didn't have a lot of resources to put this together, didn't have a lot of funding. The first 2 seasons of the series were filmed on this, my Sony Cybershot. I actually got this in 2010. And yeah, this got me into a festival, actually, because after the first season was produced, I submitted it to a web festival and got some awards for production and writing, which blew my mind because the production quality is not really all that great. And that's probably one of the reasons why some people haven't gravitated toward it just yet, or, you know, the production quality is not the greatest. You know, even though this camera does give good footage, I've taken a lot of really good pictures with this camera. I don't use this anymore, by the way, but yeah, this is what I was using. And yeah, that's what I did. You know, I wasn't a person who wanted to wait around for funding and resources. I just wanted to just get it out there. Okay. So when you watch the first 26 episodes, just know it was all done on a Sony Cybershot. And some of it is decent. Some of it is cool. You know, season 3 is totally different. You know, got a better camera, better cinematographer, director of photography, and all of that. It improved. But yeah, the first 26 episodes all done on this. Great memories. And so again, I wanted to explore my sensual mind. Okay. Now, for some people in the manosphere, if some of those people float around into this space and catch wind of the Book of Sultry, they're probably going to say that the Book of Sultry is very blue pill. It's a very blue pill series. It's not a real red pill series. Well, let me create a distinction here, because in a way that's true, because I was at a different point when I first started it. I was 34 years old. I hadn't gone through my complete transformation, even though I was a bit more so on the red side of things than the blue side of things. I guess you could say when it comes to passion, when it comes to intimacy, I am a giver. So that's more blue pill philosophy for those of you that are familiar with the different pills and this whole thing with the manosphere and all of that stuff. But yeah, you could say that when it comes to intimacy and sensuality, it would be more blue pill. And then everything else, all of my other dealings are more red, if that makes any sense. If there's anybody from the manosphere that roams into this video, there it is. That's the breakdown. But the idea was to explore sex differently, because I knew that sex was still taboo. Most people get their sex education from the adult entertainment industry, movies, music videos. Not the best options. So I wanted to try and create a way to explore sex or sensuality or passion in a different way. And I wanted to give it a poetic overlay and yeah, just dive in. So all of it comes from here and it's all in front of the camera. That's the Book of Sultry. And you could say that it is sort of a promo for the eventual book. Yes, the Book of Poems. Yes, that you will eventually be able to read. But I just wanted to give you this because there's a lot of questions probably roaming around. I do have clips of the Book of Sultry series here. There's a lot of videos. I do have the poetry clips, the short scenes, and that sort of thing. If you are looking to explore sensuality, if you're looking to kind of tap into that side of the mind, you could say the Book of Sultry, I don't know, it receives a lot of mixed thought because of the production quality of the first 26 episodes. People tend to dismiss it. There's a camp that dismisses it. Then there's a camp that actually likes it for the visuals only, and that's usually guys. And then there's a camp of women that like it because of the poetic elements. Some people like me. And then there's the music, which is done by my cousin, Jojo Coco. There's a lot of mixed reviews, you know, see what you think. All right. You kind of do have to watch, I would say maybe 3 or 4 episodes to truly understand what it's talking about, because it's very simple. There's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of stuff to break down. You're not just going to get it all figured out. And for some people, it's hard because you're watching, you know, kissing and caressing and breasts and all of that. And you sort of, I've been told that that's a bit distracting from the poems. And that may be the case for you. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. But yeah. And you see where we're at right now currently? A lot of channels here on YouTube are talking about relationships between men and women specifically. And with the rise of Instagram and the sexual marketplace, dating and all of that, and post Me Too era, that's what we're in, and all of that stuff going on. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I may have been behind the 8 ball in terms of promoting this thing, because with better promotion in the early 2010s and a better camera, something like this maybe, with better tools, I wonder how much impact the Book of Sultry would have had on today's social climate as it pertains to sex. Now, that's not to say that the series can't build momentum from this point, because you watching this right now, you may go off and explore it and say, wow, I should have known about this a long time ago. But I wonder what the climate would have been had the Book of Sultry hit really big in the year 2012. I don't know. Time has passed, you know. What's done is done. The only thing I can do right now is continue to move forward. And that's exactly what I intend to do.